Today, I graduated from high school. Grades K through 12 are all now officially done. I've had this video planned for about 8 months now and have been writing it for 3. Explains me not uploading. Anyways, today is all about what I've learned from school. It's not as much about the education, but more of the life lessons I've learned from school. The way I think of leaving high school is feeling confident about my future. I believe I did that last year, but I could have been even more confident if I started what I did last year earlier. The best perspective on this concept is to work now to be the role model you'd want your kids to have. If you stay until the end, you will get the best advice I can possibly give for students. But watch the whole thing since I will provide good advice throughout the video. So let me start with the handful of advice I have for you guys. I believe starting with just a general advice that can be applied to whatever grade you're in is the best way to go. Like I said in the intro, school isn't as much about the education, but more about the life lessons. I'll talk about education since it is the shortest concept. First thing is to actually take it seriously. Sadly, your grades will determine your future if you choose to go in the work world working for somebody else and not yourself. Even if you do choose to work for yourself, you should take school seriously. By taking it seriously, you will learn things about hard work and not so much about the actual education being taught. You will remember some things, but more of the habits you create will stick with you. That's why taking it so seriously is so important. If you build habits of not doing work, in this case schoolwork, once, and if you get a real job, it's very likely you don't do your work. School is a good place to build good habits that will be prosperous for your future. Second thing for general advice is to go for your dreams. When I say this, I mean it. Even if your dream doesn't stick to whatever you are passionate about for your future work towards it. I know you've heard this multiple times. Chase your dreams. I believe that everyone should, as long as they are something that is positive. If you have nothing to pursue or something to chase after, what is there even to live for? Everyone has an aspiration, and choosing not to work towards it seems ridiculous, right? Even though this dream may change over time, it is still worth working towards since it will bring a strong purpose to your life. Another thing is the decisions you make in school are extremely important as well. This goes for actual educational decisions like going to class, doing homework, studying, then other things like people you hang out with, or doing or not doing certain things in school, and then how you treat your teachers and staff. If you make poor decisions in school, it will affect your life no matter what way you think of it. If you choose to not study for tests or come to class, for example, you will struggle in school. Your grades will slip and you will build the habit of not doing the work needed to pass or succeed. Then other severe things like doing drugs in school or disregarding the importance of school can affect you all the way into the real world, possibly 20 years from then. Even disrespecting teachers can lead to that. Say in school someone gets introduced to pot and it's in 7th grade. Now they do it every day at school and are addicted to it. Since they aren't developed, their brain isn't developed, it could lead to a terrible future now just because you made a dumb decision and possibly were peer pressured into doing drugs in school. By being a yes man, your future is very likely ruined. The decisions you make determine your future, no matter how you skew it. The last thing is to avoid procrastinating. Procrastination is one of the worst possible things you could do in school. When we procrastinate, we waste precious time and resources that could have been used to accomplish important tasks. This leads to missed deadlines, increased stress, and decline in the quality of schoolwork produced. Over time, chronic procrastination can hinder our ability to achieve our long-term goals, aspirations, and ultimately undermine our personal success and professional success. By doing this in school, it will only create a habit of delaying your tasks, causing you to be behind on work, then stressing to get it done when you are busy doing other things. Try to get what you can off your plate now rather than later. So the way the rest of this video will be structured is advice for specific grade levels. This one being middle school, and the next one being high school. However, the advice I give is not just for that grade level. It can be applied to any grade level, but I felt that it fit right into this certain grade level. So anyway, starting with middle school, I'll start with what I was talking about before. Doing drugs in school, in the bathrooms due to peer pressure. The concept I'm going with here is don't be a people pleaser or a pushover yes man. however you want to put it or think of it. Middle school is the time where kids start to believe they can pressure others into doing things for them. This will carry on throughout high school, but starts in middle school most of the time. Now, I know wanting to people please is one of the things every human wants to do, but there are times where you can't and you just shouldn't. If you find yourself in a scenario where that gut feeling that you usually have is something you should not be doing or something you don't want to do, seriously, go with your gut. It's the best thing for you. Now, it could feel like you're failing that person since you are not being a people pleaser and doing what they want from you. Just know they want you to do that because it's something stupid to do. If they do it or not, they want you to do it as well, so they have someone to feel stupid with. I've had personal experience where I was trying to be pressured into doing things I didn't want to do, or was just trying to please someone since they wanted me to do this certain thing. At least 90% of the time, doing something that people please felt good for a split second, then I realized that it was actually a stupid thing to do. My thought process was pretty much, what was the point of this? What difference would it have made to that person if I did it or not? The point I want to make now that will be made various times over the video is to make decisions for you, not for others. I mean this when it comes to decisions that may feel wrong to actually go through with. For reference, saying no to drinking at 13 years old compared to saying no to spending time with your mom. Quite the difference, right? Seems pretty obvious which one you should actually say no to. Something that ties in with this idea is the concept of clout. I assume everyone watching has an idea of what clout is, but I will provide the definition for it. Clout is a person's influence, reputation, or popularity. The reason I want to bring up clout is it is a lot of what people try to chase in school. Don't try to be popular. I will make that clear. Don't try to be popular. Be you. Realistically, no one cares if you are popular. Find your crowd and roll with them. Make sure that crowd is the right crowd for you though. Popularity, in my honest opinion, is one of the worst things in school. After thinking back to school and the popular kids, a lot of them ended up going off the rails and making terrible decisions for their lives. Some girls that became popular became girls that were very easy to get down and dirty, if you know what I mean. And a lot of the popular boys became the ones to be heavy drinkers and the annoying jocks and the ones that would just do stupid stuff. Tying in with this too is the idea of social media. I've talked about social media various times. I personally think it's a good thing in moderation. My dad put it in a perfect way. All social media does is take your consciousness, which makes you forever scroll since you have no idea how long you've been scrolling. Ever since I stopped having social media, it made things very difficult to have my consciousness taken by my phone. It led to me being more productive. It also led to me being more busy at all times, and it also made me try new things I've been wanting to try for a while, but I didn't because I'd rather be on my phone. Going back to the social aspects of social media, it can also give a perception of things improperly, such as the image of yourself. Seeing people in your school posting on social media and they look good or look like they have amazing lives doing fun things may or may not be true. That's why you can't let social media decide what a good life looks like. That's why you can't compare how you look to someone on social media, because they could just be putting filters and editing photos to make them look better. There are a couple girls I know in my school, and actually a couple I were friends with, that did this. It's different for me as a guy since my thing about it leans more towards the idea of a good life or a fun life. But seeing people look like they have amazing lives would kind of just throw me off sometimes. I don't go out very often, and there are some that do that, and sometimes it would make me feel like I'm missing out on something. That's what social media will do to you. It will ruin your perspective on how you actually view things. Take the things you see on social media with a grain of salt, unless proven otherwise. On top of that, don't become addicted to social media or your phone. It's one of the worst things that can happen. You see these iPad kids watching Skibbity Toilet and all this TikTok brain rot, and don't really see how detrimental this is to society. These people are the next ones for us to let our country keep going. Don't let the rot consume you. Don't get hooked on social media since it is free dopamine, and free dopamine is one of the worst things for you. My last bit of advice for middle school is to put yourself out there. Don't let social anxiety get to you. One of my friends, lifelong friends, he deals with social anxiety. He wishes he didn't. If you have it, there's a way to overcome it. All the bad things you may believe when you think you're going to go talk to somebody for the first time are just completely misconstrued. This is due to social media and also movies and TV shows. Name me a movie or a show that was based in school that doesn't have that one bully in it. The first one I think of is all the Sam Raimi Spider-Man series, where Flash is the bully. It's all stupid. It may happen from time to time to people, but it's ridiculous. People aren't like that realistically. They may give you a hard time, but it's rarely like those movie bullies. I believe it's a hoax, but social anxiety is not, but it can be overcome. Just go up to the person and talk to them. I could talk about this more if wanted from you guys, so let me know. It's something I haven't really dealt with, but I could totally look more into if wanted. So if you want me to do that, comment down below and I will do it. That will wrap up our middle school section. Let's move on to the chunky section, which is the final one, high school. Now this is the high school section of the video. This will be the juiciest part of the video, since high school is where most changes occur, in my opinion at least. Whether it's within yourself, or if it has to do with other people. Remember in the intro how I stated, work to be a role model to your future children now. I heard this from somebody and honestly just really stuck with me. Looking back, it's a mindset I wish I had a longer time ago. My past was not something I would want as a role model to my future children. I've worked on it, but I still don't feel like that I would be a proper role model to my future children if I stayed the same as I am right now. My work ethic and health are good things to be modeled to my children, but some of the other things I do, not so much. Keep in mind, you can't be perfect, but you can try to be as close to perfect as possible. The best thing you can do now is make decisions that you can look back on and tell your kids confidently that you made the right decision. Show them that the person you were and the person you became are polar opposites, that they should look up to the person you became, not the one that you were. The second thing I will bring up is the idea of college being the only option you have. Back in my freshman year, it was the year of COVID and my hybrid year. Days in school, days online. I found myself screwing around during the virtual days and completely just checking out. Due to that, my grades were awful and I thought I had no chance for college. Then 10th grade was a struggle too, since the hybrid stuff was still going on. Half in school, half online. Then I seriously thought I had no options left. I would go to a bad college and get a bad job. However, I realized college is mainly for people who want to go work for someone else. I thought to myself, why work for someone else if I can start my own thing? That mindset has been the driving force behind my lawn care business. I don't want to work for anyone. I want people working for me. I want to run my own thing, not work for someone else running their own thing. The idea of college being your only resort is just complete lies in my opinion. You don't have to go to a good college. Hell, you can even go to a trade school. I'm going to community college since it'll be cheap, I can stay home, and I can still learn some more entrepreneurial stuff. My advice is to try to start your own thing. At the start of junior year, I was working at Marshall's. It was the worst time of my life. The job was miserable and I wanted out, but I didn't think I had a choice. This was one of my only options, I thought, working for somebody else. Then one day, my neighbors had somebody come over to clean up their leaves for the fall. My other neighbor had tons of leaves, so I went over and asked them if they needed them cleaned up. They said yes, and they paid me. And while doing this, I realized that doing something like that was 100 times better than working at Marshall's. So I quit my job after 2 months and went forward to start my lawn care business. Now it is safe to say that it is one of the best decisions I have ever made. I could never imagine myself doing anything else but running a business. So my advice for people watching this is to go forward with running a business. Learn what you need to start one, learn what you need for that certain business you want to run, and become obsessed with it and learn everything and all you can. Trust me when I say it, it will always be better than working for somebody else. Now, getting into more of the social and personality aspects of high school, this is the time where you really begin to figure out who you really are. Most of the weird times of puberty have passed and you are becoming more mature. However, at the end of high school, you still may not understand who you are just yet. You just have a rough idea. What I did starting my junior year was write down who I was as a person, my identity, pretty much. I was brutally honest with myself too. Then I'd write down who I wanted to be by the end of the school year. Every week, I'd look at what I wrote down and review it. I'd see if I was making the progress towards who I wanted to be. Then senior year, I did the same thing. It helped me understand who I really was. Good or bad, it made me know. That's why I was brutally honest. Then I was able to use that to do what I said earlier, to work to be a role model of my future children. You have to figure out who you are as a person before you can start becoming the person you want to be. You may have one of the traits of the person you want to be, or you may think that you have one of those traits, but in reality, you don't. That's why figuring out who you are is so important. During the process of figuring out who you are, you also may begin to outgrow people. This was something I noticed that was happening to me. The friend group I was in wasn't aligning with what I was shooting towards for the future. In grades 9 through 11, I was quite unmotivated. I spent most of my time sitting on my computer if I wasn't working as a lifeguard or playing baseball. I found myself to be a yes man, almost, like I was talking about earlier. And as the years went on, I became more of the punching bag of the group. That was due to me outgrowing them and going on my different path. My personality changed from what I got from the group. When I say this group was toxic, I can't even describe how bad it was. It was one of those groups that was straight up just bully each other, and that was really it. The amount of positivity in that group was just little to none. We had fun together, but looking back, it was just a very toxic group. And there was people I wish I was friends with in place of that group. This change in friends was one of the biggest changes in my life. Throughout middle school and early high school, I had falling outs due to certain friends who weren't really my real friends. My childhood group was practically pushing me out due to one friend saying things to my other friends that were untrue. It was the maturity gaps that caused those kinds of things. It was frustrating, but they were eventually overcome. But the other group in high school was different. When junior year came around and I started to become a different person, I started to be the punching bag, like I was saying before. It was constantly talked about negatively because I wasn't the person they wanted me to be. Then plans were made right in front of my face, and it pretty much was saying, screw off. Then at the start of the senior year, I had enough and cut it off. I didn't cut it off in a way I should have, but that will be for another video. I cut it off in a way that was excessive and on bad terms when I could have cut it off on good terms. It was stupid of me, but it's in the past now. I can't do anything about it. But after that, it made me realize who my real friends were. My group took a complete 180. My new group was a combination of kids I never would have thought would be friends. It's all about getting with the right crowd, being respected, but there will always be poking fun at each other. It's just the way that things are. Once you find that proper crowd, your life becomes so much better. You can even be alone and your life may feel better. I felt my mood go up so much after I was done with the other group. There was no reason for me to stick around with fake friends since all it did was make my life worse. I figured out who my real ones were and built relationships with them. You will outgrow people. It is not a question, but it's whether you choose to continue to outgrow them, which you should do. Do what you need to do, even if you lose friends along the way. There will always be someone out there with the same values and same goals as you. That's a strong belief of mine. A change in friends can sometimes be the best thing for you as well. It was for me. Sometimes all you need is different people to be around, or just be by yourself, and you will see how drastic the changes to how you feel about yourself really are. My next piece of advice is about living in the moment. I will keep things brief since this is actually my next video topic, so stay tuned for that and drop a subscribe right now. I find that being present-minded is the key to staying happy. It helps you fight anxiety, cut down on your worrying and rumination, and keeps you grounded and connected to yourself and everything around you. Now remember this, you are never ever guaranteed the next day, so live every single day in the moment. I know you've had an experience when you're with your family or friend and something happens, but because you were distracted and not in the moment, you had no idea what happened. It could be the funniest thing ever, and now you never got to experience it firsthand. That sucks, right? I would hate when it would happen to me, but I've grown to learn that it's because I wasn't living in the moment. During school, there were a lot of times where I wasn't really in the moment. I found myself on my phone a lot during class when things were being taught or when we had free time. I could have been using that time better, or even talking with my friends in class, actually being in the moment. Now that school is over, it's something I wish I could have done more. All the time I was on my phone instead of interacting took away memories I could have possibly had. I can't recall a single memory of just me scrolling on my phone that was a positive memory. It brought nothing to my life. It honestly took more than what it gave me. It took time for me to be in the moment with others and gave me short gratification. I could have waited to get back to my house and go forward and get it then. Now, the last section of high school is more of the mental side of things, starting with being resilient. I found there were multiple times where it was constant trial and error. One being 10th grade geometry class. I struggled severely in that class. It was honestly the hardest class I've ever taken. Bad teacher and bad teaching, along with being in school half the week and not, just did not mix well. The end of the year was creeping up and I was barely getting by. It was constant trial and error to get through the year and actually pass. Then the finals were coming up. I had to pass in order to pass the class. I spent endless hours studying, trying to understand the concepts of geometry. Going into the test, I was still lost. No matter how hard I worked, how many hours I poured in my mind, it just wasn't paying off. Until I actually passed the test. It taught me that trial and error is needed to succeed. Things don't come naturally. You have to keep grinding no matter what. Another instance that didn't go the way I wanted was the high school baseball team. This team was the hardest to make in the section. In sophomore year, I worked so hard. I went all the camps, I got in front of the coaches and showed up with 110% effort every time. Even after all the grinding I did, I still did not make the team. It was heartbreaking, yeah, but once I entered my travel season, I've had one of the best seasons ever. Even though I didn't reach the end goal I wanted, there was still a payoff behind all the grinding. Trial and error never leads to nothing. It will get you somewhere. Whether it's the end goal, more than the end goal, or less than the end goal, there will be something you'll get out of it. That's why you need to keep grinding and keep being resilient to anything. On the topic of resilience, in my junior year, I picked up the sport of diving. My friend Nate told me I should just join the team. I did, and it was honestly the hardest thing ever. 3-hour practices, Monday through Friday. It was basically water gymnastics. And I never did gymnastics. I was never a gymnast. I played baseball. So this was a huge step up. But I stayed resilient throughout the season, and my first meet of the season, I qualified for sectionals. I didn't dive in sectionals due to a brutal injury, but I kept grinding that season since I knew I had the potential. The coach even told me it was the most progress he's seen from someone who had no gymnastics background. I never stopped working no matter how hard it got. I built resilience and it sticks with me to this day. Become resilient to your challenges. It's the only way to get through them. Once you do become resilient, you will understand that even more. During that dive season, I also had to figure out how to manage my time. And when I tell you time management is the most important thing in school, I mean it. That season was so hard to manage my time. Between 3-hour dive practice, schoolwork, and baseball practice, on top of proper sleep, it felt like I never had time to do what I really wanted to do. And because of that, I started to put things that weren't priority in front of what I really needed to do. I wanted to come home from practice and relax, which led to playing video games over doing my homework. During this time, my grades began to slip since my time management was poor. Then this year, in my senior year, running the business during school and playing for 2 baseball teams while being an assistant coach on my brother's team really disrupted my time. However, my time management skills improved, so I was able to manage time effectively. I'd do my job after school, do baseball after that, and do homework if I needed to at night. I cut out the things that weren't necessary to my life, like video games and social media. I only play video games if I want to relax and enjoy myself for a little bit of free time that I may have. One of the best things you can get out of school is the ability to manage your time. It will be something you have to do all your life. Our time is limited, so making sure it is being used properly is so important. If I never learned how to manage my time properly, I would never have been able to do all these things in my senior year and still have free time every now and then. Keep in mind what I've been saying. Keep your priorities in check. This links to my next point, which is the importance of accountability. You have to be accountable for everything you do, whether that is in middle school or when you are 40 working a job. You must keep yourself accountable. There were multiple times where I found myself not holding myself accountable for bad grades or not getting schoolwork done. All it did was show people and myself that I can't take the blame for my own mistakes or poor time management. I wasn't able to be responsible about my actions. If I didn't get homework done, it was always my teacher's fault for not explaining it well or giving too much. There was always an excuse. And once I started to take accountability, I gained more trust with my parents about school and other things. Also with my teachers. It also made things easier to keep in grasp. Not being accountable for my own actions made things worse for me and got me nowhere. Matter of fact, taking accountability of my own things got me further than I could have ever imagined. When you aren't accountable for your own actions, you believe that nothing is ever your fault. You believe that you are always in the right, and that the reason you don't do things is everyone else's fault. Imagine having that mindset when you go to work. If something doesn't get done that you are told to do, and you blame your boss, how do you think that will go? Or if you're running a business and somebody blames you for why they didn't come to work. Realize how screwed up that is? It's not going to benefit you at all. So becoming accountable is a top priority since it will make your relationships better with others and you start to get a realistic sense of self. Now, last piece of advice, and the best piece of advice I can offer today, is to be an active learner. You need to be willing to learn things on your own. Listen to some of the most successful people, and they will all say they learned things on their own to become successful. You can't expect to be taught everything. You have to be willing to go out and learn yourself. Since I started reading and listening to podcasts, I can feel my knowledge growing. I learn something new every day, and as I listen to more and more people that succeed in life, I understand more of what they're saying. If you choose not to take the opportunity to go out and learn with the millions of podcasts, books, and resources about what you want to learn, you will never reach the point you want to get to. You may, but it's going to take a lot longer. You can't expect yourself to get to the intelligence level that you need to succeed in what you want if you don't dedicate time to learning on your own time. Even people who are 90 years old are still learning something new every day. It's too difficult to expect success if you don't put the time in to become as knowledgeable as possible about what it is you want to learn. Even if it is a little bit every single day, you need to be an active learner. You have to possess the want to learn. You need that to get to the level you want to get to. There's no way people like Elon Musk, Mr. Beast, and Mike Tyson just have all this knowledge. They spent time learning about what they were interested in on their own time. They had the mindset to become the most knowledgeable and best in their topic, so nobody could top them. And look at them now. Seems like they've reached that level, right? It's not a hoax. This is for real. So if you want to be the best at something you want, you need to put time in to learn. Use that free time to learn something. I always have a podcast when I'm working. When I'm pushing a lawnmower, why not listen to something I can actually get knowledge from? Have the desire to learn every day. It will pay off in the long run. I talked about earlier the idea of procrastination being one of the worst things you could do as a student. On the screen now is a video about procrastination, and I actually go a lot deeper into why procrastination is one of the worst habits you can have. So watch this here. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, as I'm going to be posting the video about living in the moment next week. So if there's any other topics about school you want to hear from me, let me know in the comments and I will do them. Or if you have a question, I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Much love. Here's your prayer if you stayed after the video. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today to lift up the viewer as they navigate through their school journey. Grant them wisdom to understand, strength to persevere, and clarity to see the path you've laid out for them. Surround them with their supportive friends and mentors, and fill their heart with courage and determination. May they grow, not only in knowledge but in character, becoming a shining light to those around them. Guide them through challenges and celebrate with them in their successes. Thank you for your constant love and guidance. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Thank you for praying with me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Much love.